welcome to TCL 20. Excited. The advanced project. Yeah, so in the meeting, we'll do some introductions. I'm gonna do kind of a learning module on Scrum versus Kanban. It's not as refined of a presentation as I would like. It's mostly just 2 slides with a bunch of text on them, but it's kind of some important differences there to understand, because we're gonna be, we'll talk through sort of how this project is gonna be different than what you went through before in your TCL, your previous TCL experience. And then we will, I guess, talk through the first couple of issues, how to, well, maybe it's a little bit of navigating Jira and that kind of thing, if you haven't used it before. And then we'll kind of get those first issues assigned and stuff. So that's the agenda for the next 56 minutes. We'll see if we can keep it under an hour. I think Caitlin, when you, well, I won't not steal all your thunder, but Caitlin was in the very first TCL cohort ever. And wow. I don't think we kept our meetings to under an hour when we did them. We only had a couple of them though. But
I also don't know if we we didn't have any sort of regular routine. Y'all seem so organized now.
Oh, it's come a long way.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess you all know me. I'll try to think of something new to say that you don't know. Let's see. So I'm Andrew. I founded Collab Lab a long time ago, 16 months ago, I guess. Stacy's been helping me ever since to kind of build it up as a proper nonprofit and everything. So maybe we did this actually on TCL 19. We'll talk about something we're looking forward to in the coming year, maybe. I'm located in Portland, Oregon, and we have a nice sunny day today, Caitlin. I don't know what's going on. It's probably global warming, so I shouldn't be too excited. But anyway, climate change, global heating, I guess is the new term for it. But anyway, and looking forward to 2021, couple things. I mean, I'll be very happy once we get the vaccine rolled out. This country is not in very good shape with respect to the pandemic. We're also not doing a very good job of rolling out the vaccine, so we'll see when that actually happens. But the other thing I'm looking forward to is January 20th.
Yeah.
So 17 days from now, when the last 4 years behind us. But let's see, who wants to go next? Caitlin, I kind of got you started, so why don't you go next?
Sure. So yeah, I was in TCL 1, which was awesome, even though we were kind of making it up as we went along. It was a super good experience. And I think it helped me get my first job, which I landed. I think my first week of that job was my last week of the Collab Lab cohort.
Oh, wow.
So I'm still there. I'm at Zapproved in Portland, Oregon. It's a corporate legal e-discovery company. And I'm a full stack developer, but I really want to do more front end. So that's kind of what brought me back for the advanced cohort, is I'm trying to up my front end game and hopefully move to a more front end focused role. And yeah, so I live in Portland, and one thing I'm looking forward to about this year, like everything, but I feel like I am starting the year with a lot more energy than I've had in the last 9 months. I feel like COVID hit and I kind of lost energy for some of my side projects and interests outside work. And I'm feeling excited about kind of getting back to those and working with all of you too.
Nice. Who do you want to pass it off to?
I will pass it off to Devon.
Hello, everyone. My name is Devon. I was in TCL 7. Yeah, so a bit more organization, but there's way more organization now. So let's see. What brought me back was just wanting to still continue to code. Right now, I work as a support engineer for a local, I'm in Maryland, so the company's based 15 minutes away from me, but we're all at home right now, and I hope it stays that way, even 15 minutes away, but yeah, my living room's a lot closer. But yeah, so yeah, I guess right, yeah, I just kind of went on, and Andrew knows, it was we had our cohort like when the pandemic really first hit, and I don't know how we got through it. It was, I mean, it was just like all over the place. I was dealing with, job issues and a job issue. And so I got through that. And so, but in that process, like it took everything, my whole energy just to, because I transitioned careers, and so yeah, just getting back to it, because in my job I just don't code. I won't be coding. So yeah, just being in that space, because it's definitely something I probably want to transition to, or just a skill in general that I want to maintain, like being in tech in general. Just I don't want to be on the outside of not, knowing how to code, or lapsing that and not knowing what's really going on. So yeah, and I guess looking forward in the new year, I guess with everybody, I mean, just continuing to stay healthy and safe, and hoping we can get the vaccine sooner than later, and all of the other things, get the current administration out of here. And so all of that. And I guess, yeah, with that, I will pass it off to Rachel.
Great. Hi, I'm Rachel. I just did TCL 13, actually with Shane. So we wrapped up like I don't even remember, early December, end of November.
End of November, yeah.
End of
wow.
November.
Okay.
And I'll give y'all an update of what so I had started coding school in person in January. And then the last 3 weeks we went remote, and it corresponded with like my grandma passed away. Just a lot happened. So I didn't graduate with my original class because I needed some time off for those last 3 weeks, and ended up graduating in July. I've just been like applying to jobs. Found the Collab, like my mentor from that program is Lisa Smith, who's part of the Code of Conduct, works with Andrew, really recommended Collab Lab. Found my way here, was with Shane and Andrew last session. And it was so great. It's like the most supportive coding environment I've been in. So when they announced the advanced project, I'm like, of course I want to apply. This is such a great, it just makes me like everything about like thinking about accessibility, just all the different ways, really just trying to also not have tech be like, cis white dudes, like all of it. It just really aligns with all my values. So I'm happy to be here. The past month of my life has been crazy. There was a family emergency, and I'm in North Carolina, so excited about the East Coast with Shane and Devon here. So I ended up having to, because I'm unemployed and childless, drive to Florida to help my grandma who's 94. It was supposed to be like post-surgery, eye surgery, but when I got down there, her health was like deteriorating a lot because of just not being able to see anyone for a year. So I just spent the past 3 weeks literally like getting my whole grandma's life together. And I just moved her back up here with me 2 days ago. And so I'm really looking forward to being able to touch my partner in 2 weeks once I'm done self-quarantining, because I was only supposed to be away for 7 days, and it's going to end up being like 5+ weeks. And yeah, and then hopefully getting a job. Like, Shane's giving me inspiration because I know we were both kind of on a similar thing, and I had to take a month off. So that feels so good. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna get back on it. And the other thing that's gonna happen, and y'all will be I'm actually gonna move into my parents' backyard. So I'll be rent-free. They have a little tiny house, and I'll be able to help out with my grandma and my stepdad. So that's gonna be some transition, but I'm excited about not paying rent.
I hear that.
So that happens in February.
Yeah.
And I'm just really happy to be here again. Collab Lab's been like my best experience in tech, so I just want to keep doing as much with it as I can. And Shane.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I'm gonna echo a lot of the things Rachel mentioned, because I think TCL 13 was like a really great experience for me personally. I think it was a very accessible kind of like space provided to dive into some tech concepts, like have open and honest conversations about what you know and what you don't know, and also collaborate with other developers and just see how their minds work. And I think that like really gave me a really good perspective of coding, specifically in React. Learned a ton of new concepts. And so, of course, I was like, yeah, I'm more than willing to dive back into, another project. with, you know, kind of enhanced challenges. And also hearing that Rachel was doing it, I was like definitely excited because she's like a great partner to code with for sure. So excited to dive back into it. Just to kind of like quickly recap, I've been working in retail management specifically for the past like 4 or so years, doing like product development at first, and then transitioning into financial planning. And then in about a year or two ago, I had been kind of like self-teaching myself a bit of code, just like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Really wanted to always like go to a coding bootcamp, but never had the opportunity to, or like the security to like quit my job and just kind of like go for it. Right around when the pandemic hit, retail was hit pretty hard. So I was on furlough for about 3 months, which is pretty much the exact time for a coding bootcamp. So I was like, this is like the time for sure. So did that, had a pretty great experience, and just opened up a lot of pathways, I guess, and opportunities into tech. Like I didn't even know that certain positions existed. So definitely got a lot of insight, and then kind of got called back to work like right as that ended. So this year has been a lot of balancing of like me trying to continue to make this career switch, but also like managing a 9 to 5, and also extracurricular kind of like coding activities. So I've just been kind of like, I don't know, putting a lot of energy into work. And I think what I'm excited for this coming year is to be able to transition a lot of my efforts into a 9 to 5 that is tech related. I think similar to what you described, Devon, like my position is going to be more of like a support engineer role. So I know I won't be like, you know, submitting new code to a code base, but I think that exposure to different technologies, different languages and things like that is still going to be really impactful. And just being able to shift my perspective completely to like tech, working on projects outside of that is going to be huge. And then similar to you, Rachel, like I've been living with my parents since March or so, and it's been the best. I cannot lie. Like I've saved a ton of money. Like I've always been kind of like speaking to them about how I want to spend more time with my family and things like that. And so it's really been the best. And I don't know, even when things kind of go back to being in person, I'm probably going to be like one of the last people to really make that shift to come back. But I'm definitely excited to, you know, work on this project and get some more experience with JavaScript.
Nice. Awesome.
And I have 2 kittens who you'll see a lot of because they're very snuggly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just got a new puppy, and he barks a lot. Sorry.
What you did? How come the puppy's not on the screen right now?
Yeah, where's the
He's
puppy?
downstairs in his cage right now, just because he really does not like. He won't be quiet. But I'll definitely show you guys him. Like,
oh yeah. You better. Cool. All right. So, what a great group.
And I just wanted to add on to Rachel and Shane. You know, just my transition happened in November as far as you know, actually getting a job, and I was like kind of, you know, I think it goes without saying that the pandemic hit us all upside the head, and however it looks. I mean, Rachel, I definitely understand. Like I help out a lot with my grandmother, and she's close, but it's a lot of back and forth, and you know, my family is close, thankfully. But I definitely understand, like it's a lot of pressure. Like I think it's honest to say that, you know, I felt like I was going crazy at certain points in 2020, you know, where it was just like I was set to, you know, just start a part-time job, and because I had been laid off in the end of 2018, and 2019 I took a whole lot of time just to skill build, and I guess I should have been more I guess honest with myself, you know. I think because as you speaking of family and parents, people in my ear, you know, like, hey, what are you gonna do? You gotta work. And I'm just like, I'm trying to get to this point so I can be better. And so yeah, I think it's okay. We're all here, you know. It's weird, like we know how to function in this pandemic to a degree. So yeah, I completely understand, and I'll say just keep going. As much as, like, you know, Twitter and people say that, it's like, yeah, please do, because, you know, we all have resources, and it's tough. Like I didn't think I was gonna, you know, it was gonna happen for me, and it was and I guess it's one of those things when you think it doesn't, it does. And I'm just a month or so, or yeah, just about 2 months exact into my job, and it still feels surreal, like every day, where I'm just like, you know, this actually happened. And it's not so much the like actually going to work part, it's just the, you know, where so many people did not really have their lives upended to the degree that other people did. And so it's like I'm walking into this room where everybody's just like, hey, we're, you know, it's Monday. And I'm just like, yeah, it is Monday. And so so yeah, I think just being here definitely, we know what Collab Lab is, so definitely being even more supportive. I have connections, and actually know someone that works at Shopify, and Shopify is on a hiring spree, so I can definitely connect you guys. And I don't know what can come of it, but she's really a good person. So I mean, just things like that. I just wanted to say that because I, you know, I don't think I ever want to forget, you know, what it was to go through this process in, you know, getting hit with everything. There was so much uncertainty, and I definitely understand it. So great that you guys are living with your family and getting so much support, and that you actually enjoy your family, because I think that's really important. So
yeah, it's so true. And I mean, it was hard enough to get a job as a junior before the pandemic, and then with the pandemic, it's like, you know, I know we turned off hiring for like 3 months or something altogether. And a lot of companies did the same, or like, you know, companies are struggling, and some, I don't know, it's such a weird situation. And it's really amazing how people have adapted to the chaos of last year. I mean, it's still going on, but you know, like that pretty quickly people kind of like, okay, life is changing. And this, like, in a few weeks, we're all wearing masks, like all this, you know, we're getting curbside pickup, and we're like, all this kind of stuff's happening, you know, that
yeah.
hadn't happened before. So people are resilient, and yeah, like Devon said, just hang in there, Rachel. We'll get you that job. Definitely gonna happen.
It's not a cliche to say that. Like, I mean, people that don't know, they a lot of times I think they want to be supportive, but it's like, yeah, I think since, you know, Rachel and Shane, you guys have seemed like you're a really good support system. So I think, yeah, just definitely keep
So
going,
important.
because
Yeah.
I was getting a lot of interviews, and you know, it was so frustrating. But I remember talking to a friend of mine where she was like, yeah, you're getting a lot of interviews. She's like, it's going to happen. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, are you serious? Like, am I, you know, I don't want to keep talking to these people. And yeah, I think, you know, as like, you know, Dory, just keep swimming, just stay positive, you know, like, because it is hard. I mean, it tested me to no end. And I'm still just kind of like, you know, it's still like, yeah, it's surreal. And I think as time goes on, it'll definitely get better. But I think we're a group of people that definitely understand what this pandemic is. I think in jobs in general, they're just like, oh, it's work, let's go. And individuals are just like, I can't, you know, this is tough. So I think, yeah, for all of us, like, we understand schedules and how, you know, your day or your week may be going. So,
yep.
Okay, yeah, I'm done.
Cool. All right. So let me do the Zoom thing of moving all my windows around while I present. Okay. So I'm just gonna ping Stacy and see if she wants to pop in. Stacy's our code of conduct person. All right. So you may show up, maybe she won't, but we'll see. In any case, so this project it's quite a bit different than what you've experienced before. So with the sort of the shopping list project with, I don't even know what to call it, because I don't want to make it sound like it's not, like this is the advanced project, right? It's not like that one's basic or super easy or anything like that, but it's pretty, like, it's all pretty simplified and it's very structured. This project's going to be a little less, the structure is going to be much more flexible. It is structured, but it's going to have a lot more flexibility and opportunity for you all to take responsibility and kind of you know, shape it to some degree. So one of the big differences between how we run the shopping list project and how we run this project is very closely related to the difference between Scrum and Kanban as software development methodologies. So these terms may be completely new to you. That's totally fine. You know, if you maybe you've come across them. Caitlin, what do you actually use at your job? Do you use
Scrum.
an action? You do use Scrum? Okay. So so Scrum, like I said, is a software development methodology. It's what's called an Agile methodology. So the link here goes to the Agile Manifesto, which
I think we're still just seeing the original.
I'm just seeing the Scrum versus Kanban Collab Lab. Yeah.
Man, this happened last time. I'm just going to share again and see if it changes. Actually, maybe I'll share a portion of the screen. Maybe that'll work. All right. So.
Oh, your name on the screen, Andrew, reminds me. I don't know if we shared pronouns.
Oh, pronouns. Oh, yeah, that'd be
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, mine are she, her, hers.
Yeah, I'm she, her, hers.
Yeah, she, her, hers.
He, him, his.
Okay, cool. Okay, now, are you seeing it change?
I see.
I know, we're just seeing it. I'm just black
Yeah,
screen.
we just see the black screen.
Black screen. What is going on?
It's like Andrew Hedges has started screen sharing.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
it literally says that. Yeah, it literally says that.
Seems like it's freezing, yeah.
There's a glitch in the matrix.
Yeah.
There is a glitch. That's not
Could you
good.
drop a link to the slides in Slack and we just look at them on our computer?
That's brilliant. There it is in Zoom, and I will also put it in Slack.
Amazing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Got it.
Cool. All right, so that's actually better because then I can see y'all better too. So all right, so Scrum versus Kanban. So yeah, so this first Scrum slide. So it's an Agile methodology. So that link goes to the Agile Manifesto, which is a bunch of cis white guys who standing around a whiteboard who decided that they had these kind of principles that they wanted to work with, but the principles are actually pretty good, despite it being a homogenous group of people who came up with them. And the Agile Manifesto isn't super important actually for our purposes, but if you're interested in it, it's a little bit of sort of software history. But it formed the basis for several, actually not just Scrum and Kanban, but several other approaches to software development where the idea is that instead of like I have waterfall here in the slide, instead of deciding everything that's going to happen up front, making a plan, executing against the plan, and then shipping something, which almost never works out, right? Like that waterfall is actually useful in certain situations, but it's like in most cases, if we're building especially a web-based product, I mean, something where we can ship changes, 1,000 times a day if we wanted to, right? So that gives us the flexibility to take a more agile approach, which is as we start to understand our users better, as a product starts to come together and we kind of see how it's evolving. Hi, Stacy. We were just getting started with the Scrum versus Kanban presentation, but yeah. You want to just, everybody here.
Yes. Hi, everybody. It's so good to see you all. I'm so excited to have like another advanced one going on. Anyway, hi, welcome. I have no idea what project you guys are doing. It's kind of a mystery to me, so I'm excited to see what happens. Code of conduct responder stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Talk about it all? Oh, okay. Well, hi. As you know from all of your time at Collab.
Some people don't know because when Caitlin did it, this wasn't a thing.
Okay. So, I mean, the overall sentimentality of Collab Lab being a very psychologically safe space has always existed, but we've, since TCL 1, have more solidified that and gotten professional training in being code of conduct responders. So I am this group's code of conduct responder, which means that if anything is a cause for concern, or you want to talk about anything, or even just ask, like, does this seem right? Or if anything makes you feel uncomfortable, or we could improve you, or anything that you want to talk about, please let me know. I'm the person you can go to. It's completely confidential. A couple weeks into this project, I'll meet with you each individually just to chat and see how things are going and give you space to talk about things that you want to talk about. So I'm here for you. If you have any questions or want to talk about anything.
Thanks, Stacy.
Anything to add to that?
Thank you.
Not really. I mean, you all have done a project before with us, and I think we had the code of conduct policy, or like kind of, yeah. Was there? I know, was there a few? And I think even Caitlin, we did it. Do we have that already on the website?
On the website that would
Okay.
be nice. It'll be there.
Yeah. It's the same. It's the same policy or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, we now have a little pool of people who kind of are assigned to different projects and can actually sort of confidentially handle anything that comes up. We've never had anything come up, but just want to provide that. So
yes. Okay. I just wanted to pop in and say hi. Hi, everybody. I miss you all so much. But I'll be around if you need anything. Good luck with this new project.
Thanks. See ya.
All right, bye.
Cool. So where was I? I was talking about waterfall versus agile. So we have a lot of flexibility now for just kind of evolving our understanding of the thing we're trying to build and adjusting based on changing business needs and all that kind of stuff, and then waterfall affords. So in Scrum in particular, so Scrum is pretty structured, pretty almost rigid or something. Like it's got a very defined set of sort of ceremonies and rituals and sort of all these things set and roles within the team that are set up to, and if they all work in concert together to kind of make the whole process smooth. But the way it starts is the team, it's supposed to be self-organizing. So the team commits to a certain set of work. These are usually expressed as user stories. So you should all be familiar with that, at least from your previous TCL project, and within an agreed upon time frame. So a lot of times which is called a sprint. I should actually add that to the sprint. Okay. So sprints are kind of by default, they're like 2 weeks, but Scrum, like in Scrum, they like to say that a sprint should be the longest amount of time the business can go without changing its mind. So, so if the business is comfortable with the sprints being a month long, that gives the team more heads down time to get through a bigger piece of work in one iteration. But I've also heard of teams where the sprints were 1 week long, like they were literally, the business wanted a lot of flexibility to be able to change its mind, and so they would, it was max 1 week. It provides it's a lot of overhead for the team because there are certain meetings that have to happen and stuff within each sprint. But but it is whatever the time frame is. The concept is the team takes the backlog and agrees, like, we're going to pull in this much work into the backlog and commit to having it done in that time period. And that's pretty similar to what we do with the shopping list project. Like the idea is, the team is committing to two stories per week, and if we stay on that pace, we'll finish the whole thing within 8 weeks. So at the end of an iteration, this is the part of the agile part, the team demos to the product owner what the state is of the project. And then that person decides whether we're done or whether we should continue, and if we're going to continue, what's next in priority order. So it's the product owner's job to keep the backlog absolutely ranked, kind of in priority order, and the team can just sort of take from the top of the backlog and know that they're doing the right things. At the end of each iteration, the team takes time to reflect and improve. So you'll do a retrospective and you'll come up with, like, here are maybe a couple of things we want to try to make better for the next iteration. And with the idea being over time, the team gets more and more efficient because they're kind of integrating these improvements. Stories can be of varying sizes. So a lot of times teams will do what's called planning poker, where they talk about the issue and everyone decides on a number. So of course, programmers being geeks use the Fibonacci sequence as like the number for the sizes of the stories in a lot of teams. Some teams do like t-shirt sizes and stuff like that, small, medium, large, that kind of thing. But a lot of teams do these Fibonacci sequence. And the planning poker everyone will decide on their number and they'll put it into like a system or something, and then they'll all the cards will flip over at one time, and you'll see like this person thought it was a 3 and this person thought it was an 8. And then you have a discussion about like, why do you think it's an 8? Oh, was this other piece of the system which I know is hard to integrate with or something? And then, oh, okay, well, I'll move mine up. You know, you can, you know, anyway, the team kind of negotiates what that story point number is. And then velocity is tracked as the number of story points completed per iteration by the team. So, you know, this team can get 20 points done in a sprint, which means we can kind of start to plan out like when we think we're gonna be able to kind of be done with certain features. The other kind of big feature of Scrum is a daily stand-up. So the daily stand-up usually literally being people standing in a circle. So it's like a sort of like a rugby scrum, which is where the term comes from. But stand-ups are typically of the format, you know, what did you do yesterday? What are you doing today? And do you have any blockers? Anything keeping you from making progress? Caitlin, does that map to what you all do in your job?
Yeah, exactly. I think we do like all the ceremonies and everything. And we have the 2-week sprints. So yeah, everything you're saying.
Yeah. So it's typically somebody who's a Scrum master, and they keep the stand-ups on task, and they keep the board up to date, and you know, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it's very, very structured, and it's sort of what we modeled that shopping list project after. But we're not going to do that. We're going to do something else. So we're going to do Kanban. So something similar to Kanban. So Kanban didn't come out of software. It actually came out of Japanese factories. So that's why it has a Japanese name. But it also has been adapted to be an agile software methodology. In Kanban, instead of having iterations, which is almost, you could argue, is sort of like mini waterfall. Like, okay, we're gonna do these things for this 2 weeks, and then we're gonna adjust. It's like more like a river of work. So the team agrees on WIP limits, work in progress limits for issue states. So, you know, we'll look at the our board in a second, but give a preview. So, you know, just like the GitHub project that we use, you know, there'll be things that are selected for development, things that are in progress, interview, and done. So each of those columns actually on the board already I have some limits kind of set, and we're such a small team that the limit is just 2 for each column. But like on my team at Zapier, we have a team of 5 engineers, and our limit of what can be in review, I think, is 10 or something. So like 2 issues per person, you know. So anyway, the team agrees on some limits. You want the limits to be as small as possible, small as the team can sort of tolerate. And what those limits do is, if you see a column on the board start to exceed the limits that have been agreed upon, what that should be is an opportunity for the team to stop and figure out why. Like if there's a bunch of stuff stacking up in review, the team maybe needs to dedicate more time to code reviews. Like maybe everyone agrees that like, I'm gonna spend the first hour of my day just doing code reviews, try to unblock that column, right? So the idea is like, basically it lets you kind of have an understanding of just the flow of work, you know, where the inefficiencies are in the process, and then the team can kind of adjust based on that. Work in Kanban is also expressed as user stories. But instead of having stories of varying sizes and you assign a number and you track velocity, what we try to do is get all the stories to be the same size, roughly. So what we do is this thing called story splitting, which we'll actually have a whole presentation on story splitting in a couple of weeks. But by splitting big stories into smaller stories, we try to get everything down to where it's roughly the same size. And on my team at Zapier, we talk about wanting that to be 3 days, roughly 3 days. So if it's 2 days or 4 days or something, but like we, you know, try to get it to be all around 3 days. And what that does is that makes that stream of work more predictable. So if everything's about 3 days, you can kind of like, it should, like your work in progress limits should kind of stay kind of in a healthy range. The work should be moving through at a predictable pace, and then you can start to do projections of how much work can the team get done in a given amount of time. So at work, man, I'm glad this is done, but we went through this big project was supposed to be 6 weeks. It ended up being 8 months. Because we took on a bunch of new of scope and anything. But anyway, towards like the second half of that project, getting a lot of questions from execs about like when is this going to be done? You know, like we're not really sure, but we've been doing Kanban long enough. We started to understand our like that throughput, and then there's I don't know if you've ever heard of a Monte Carlo simulation. So there's this statistical thing you can do, which is like run simulations based on the recent past, run like 10,000 simulations of what that should look like for the coming 2 weeks or so. And so we were able to kind of run these simulations and start to give, you know, feedback up to the execs like, okay, we think we have this many stories left. We're running at about this kind of throughput. So we think it should be around this time when we're done. They weren't very happy with the answers at first, but everyone got over it, and we shipped a new blog for Zapier, which is such an improvement over what we had. Anyway, so yeah, so we try to split stories down to where they're around the same size, and then again at regular intervals. It's not based on this. There's no sprints, right? So it's not based on that, but it will at regular intervals still kind of do demos and retros and all this kind of thing. So kind of reflect and try to improve our process. So instead of tracking velocity, which is story points for an iteration, we're tracking cycle time. So the cycle time is, well, we don't have anything actually, any data yet, but the cycle time is basically the amount of time that a particular story stays in progress and in review. So if it's in the backlog, it doesn't count. If it's done, it's done. But the amount of time that it's in those other states where it's actually sort of actively being worked on, that's the cycle time. And you want to have your average cycle time sort of match what your story splitting objective is, right? So if we're trying to get all the stories down to be about 3 days, you want your cycle times to be about 3 days as well. That means that you're splitting things down at the right level of granularity, and you're able to kind of like, then it makes the whole thing more predictable, right? So, so that's kind of what we're gonna do. We're gonna do Kanban. We're actually, towards the end of the project, we'll actually have enough data to look at our cycle times and stuff. We'll look at the charts and stuff as we go, but it'll start to be more valid the more data we have in there. But yeah, anyway, the idea is basically that we'll split stories. So I've written all the stories, and I'm not really sure like whether they're going to be, 3 days or whatever our objective is, or not. So we will split stories, and we'll actually take that and use that for the next time we do an advanced project. We'll try to have those stories in a little better shape for the next team. But yeah, any questions about the difference between Scrum and Kanban?
Just sounds hard to make stories the same size. I was thinking if we tried to do that at my work, and that sounds hard.
Yeah, that's why we're going to have a whole presentation on story splitting, because there are techniques for it. There are ways that you might story split that actually are sort of counterproductive too. So it's a whole skill unto itself to be able to do that. But hopefully by the end of the project, yeah, you'll be better at it, and you can even take it back to Scrum and say like, hey, this is an 11, but if we apply these techniques, we could actually break this down into a 5 and a 3 and a 3 or something, So, and that's all easier for people to understand, like to get their heads around, even in the Scrum world, right? So, okay, so any other questions about that? I think it'll become more clear once we start doing it. But I guess the main difference in terms of this project is that, so you're still going to pair off with somebody each week, but you're not necessarily going to finish one task per week. Like if you look at the board, if you look at the backlog, actually, there's not the right number of stories for that. And there's 17 issues, but these epics, these are stories, the green ones, and these are epics. So epics are typically like big stories, but within Jira, we're just using those as sort of containers. So really the things you're going to be working on are the green ones, the stories. So there are 13 of those, and if we did 2 per week, that's 16. So we may end up with about 16 stories in the end, but anyway, the difference is that you're not expected to ship 2 stories every week and stay on a cadence like that. If something takes more than 1 week, that's just what it is. If you get something done, you're welcome to pick something up and start the next one, right? And at those week boundaries, you will switch pairs or switch partners. So you'll need, which is actually fairly realistic in like on my team and stuff. Like you might have a couple people working on something together, then somebody gets pulled off because they're the only person who knows about this other thing, and so you bring somebody else in to help. So they need to hand off a little bit, like the knowledge, right? And like, so there's something in progress. Here's the state of things. I'm going to go work on this. So it's going to require a bit more flexibility on your parts to maybe jump into something that's half done, kind of understand it, and then help get it over the line, right? So it should be much more of a dynamic. Sorry. All right. I don't know what else to say about that. That's probably enough of this. I'm going to close my Scrum versus Kanban tab.
Okay.
Go
Is
ahead.
it like similar cadence to what we were used to in terms of the fact that like early in the week we're going to be working on our issues and then we'll submit for peer review and mentor review and then come together to demo? Like, is that similar, or is it a little bit more dynamic just as we're figuring out like story splitting? And yeah, I'm just kind of curious of
Yeah.
how you envision the cadence to be, I guess.
Yeah. We'll still have a weekly sync, right?
Okay.
Whatever's ready to be demoed, we'll demo, right. But not everything might be ready to demo. Stuff might kind of move over into Tuesday, but then you get some other short one done, and then you're demoing 2 things the next week or something.
Okay.
So you all are empowered here to be pretty self-organizing around this stuff. Like there's sort of an order that I think makes sense to do the work. But I keep forgetting you're not actually looking at my screen. So if you don't have it pulled up, here's the Jira board, or the backlog. But there are, and if you look at we probably should take the epics in order, but within the epics, maybe there's probably room to move some things around in terms of the order of the stories. The idea is that actually the last epic, I'm assuming we're going to run out of time, and so the team will probably choose a couple of things to do out of that last epic. But the other 3 epics, those are, we need to do all those things in the next 8 weeks in order to have the sort of functioning app. We should take the epics in order, but like I said, the stories could maybe there's some flexibility there. And if we split things up and just split stories down into smaller stories and stuff, figuring out the order of those as well. So this board, I hope you feel like you can own this board a little bit. And if you like Jira, has anybody worked with Jira before? I'm assuming not, but you do, Caitlin?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I have
Jira,
not.
Okay. Yeah, there's no need to have any prior experience with it, but it has a ton of things that it can do. It's actually probably has too many features. Jira is it's both wonderful and terrible, but it's also very common in software. So that's part of why I wanted to use it. But you can create tasks and subtasks, and you can file bugs, and you can do all those things in here. So all we have right now are epics and stories, and you can relate stuff to, like you can say that something is split from another story. So if you do a story splitting thing, you can actually say that it came from this story originally. So you can have all the relationships set up, and that kind of helps us track things. But we'll figure all that stuff out as we go. So let's see. I want to be able to show you my screen.
Do you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, why don't you share your screen? And I will.
While we're sharing, I just want to clarify that I'm understanding kind of like story splitting correctly. So essentially you have like a story, and maybe like certain aspects of it require, I don't know, additional time or like further expertise from a different team member. Essentially like taking tasks from that and creating kind of like a new area to focus on. Yeah,
so sort of. So the idea is like if a story is too big, if it's big, like we think all our stories should be 3 days or less, and this story we can see clearly it's going to take 5 days. Like we'd want to split that up into 2 stories if there's a way to cleanly do that, so that each story is sort of small enough that you could kind of get it done in the time period that we agree on. So it's a little less about expertise and stuff, but sometimes that can happen too, where it's like there's only certain people who can really kind of finish a certain thing. So what I wanted to demo actually, or want to show people, for whatever reason your screen sharing is working fine, Caitlin, is the What's Near Me app link that I put in the chat.
Where's the chat? Lost it now.
Yeah, it's always fun to once you start sharing your screen.
That went to the backlog again. What?
It's just the very last.
I can share my screen if there's.
Sure.
Let me see.
I can't find the link you're talking about.
Yeah. Do you see it in the chat though?
Oh, I just clicked the bigger one. I didn't realize there was 2 different links there.
Yeah.
I see it now.
There, that would make it easier. There, it's cool. And if you don't mind, like open the dev tools. And let's hit the device, the little device thing next to elements. Yeah. So one thing I would like us to do kind of throughout the project is really like just treat this as we're building a mobile app. Like this, the nature of the app is that it's a lot of fun. You can go on a walk and have the thing out and like be kind of exploring as you're walking around and stuff. Like the whole idea is for it to be a mobile app. So like whenever we're demoing and stuff, we should be kind of in this type of view. But the app is basically it shows you a Google map, and on the Google map there are pins. You can tap on a pin and it'll show you information about something that's nearby. And this information comes from Wikipedia. So they have an API that basically you give it coordinates and then a couple of other parameters, and it will give you a set of things that are kind of near that place. The other feature of this is that if you hit the What's Near Me title up there, it'll take us back to that. And then if you hit share location, you can actually share your location, and it will center on you. So, oh, it's turned off in your Mac preferences. Okay.
Yeah. I wonder if I can.
That's smart. You're privacy minded. I like it.
I know.
Click the lock, I think.
Okay. Oh, Jesus.
Then,
right.
Yeah, I think you have to give Chrome the.
There we go. Cool. All right, that should do it. There we go. Now
So
y'all
you might need. Oh, it did together. Okay, so yeah, you're up there in North Portland. Portland has 5 quadrants. It's a little Portland insider information for you. 5 quadrants, which doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Northeast, southeast, northwest, southwest, and north.
Oh.
Anyway, so now Caitlin can kind of see stuff that's actually close to her. So, and that's the creepiest thing in all of Wikipedia is the doll asylum. That's right by your house. Keep the doors locked. As anyway. So we're gonna build something similar to this. Actually, this is the app that I built for myself a while ago, and based on EJ and Ali's suggestions and stuff, we've actually refined the design a little bit. It's gonna be pretty nice. But it's a similar idea, like same API. We're gonna be showing either pins or sort of a table view of things that are close to you. And I don't know, I find the app a lot of fun to kind of pull out every once in a while. If I'm in a new area, I'll just pull it out and kind of see what's around me. So that's the app. You can actually go to Jira now. Cool. And these are our stories and epics. So again, the epics are just containers for the stories. But yeah, you'll see on the right-hand side, there's a description of the epic. You can go back to the epic. And then it shows you which issues are related to it. So you can, it's kind of a shortcut. You can navigate around that way. So, and if you go into one of the stories, all the stories are structured the same way. So this is using, we actually have an automation made, or I added an automation to Jira. So if you were to hit create, you can actually go ahead and do this, why not demo it. And then if you just type in something, I don't know, whatever. Yep, and then hit create. Don't add anything to the description, just hit create. And now,
Wow.
if you go like, there's, yeah, go into that story. I think you're gonna have to, this is Jira. I'm gonna annotate your screen here, if I can remember how to do that. Okay, if you click that thing, and I don't know how to get rid. I don't know how to get. So it populates it with a template. So this is the actual template that we use for my team at Zapier. It's pretty detailed. All of your stories are based on this template. So they all start off with, you know, as a user, I want to do this thing so that I can accomplish whatever the thing is. And then I don't actually do this at work, but I've filled out every single one of these for every story, so that you have, you know, super detailed stories to work with. And all you do, you can click in here somewhere and then edit it. It's just a rich text field. So, so if we go to maybe, oh yeah. I don't know. Sorry about the annotations. I don't know how to get rid of them.
Go back to the board.
Oh, here we go. Clear all drawings. Okay, there we go. Yeah, let's go back to the board.
Oops.
Yeah, the backlog. So what we can do, I guess we could, unless you really want to keep your story, we could delete your story. I think the way you do that is you hit that 3-dot thing. Yeah, delete. Oh, you know your way around Jira. I don't need to tell you about Jira. So there's these first, you know, this sort of first set of stories. So we should probably start with these two, but this one is also, I mean, it's a smaller story that should be fairly easy to do. Annotation is kind of fun, but it's also anyway. So the first couple of stories. So we need to basically put the structure. This first epic is about putting the structure of the app together, right? So we're going to put some views in place. We're going to get a basic Google Map rendering, and then we're going to make it act like a PWA, a progressive web app that you can install on your home screen. So once we have those things in place, we've kind of like defined some of the lines that we're going to then draw in for the rest of the project, right? So, yeah. Who are the pairs? Do you have the repo up anywhere?
I think the pairs this week are me and Devon and Shane and Caitlin.
Okay, cool. So we will decide who we assign these things to. If you're all in Jira, so we can actually use this to assign people. But so there's this task of creating the basic views, and there's I think there's a screenshot on this at the bottom, where it doesn't have to be these. I mean, the colors can be totally different, but something like this where we have 4 sort of buttons or tabs or something at the bottom, and then a main view. And I actually say in the criteria somewhere that we don't need to worry too much about this title thing for the time being. We could actually kind of not do that for now. So it's really mostly about this main area and the navigation. So we'll need routes, and I think that's all kind of specified up in the issue. So, you know, //list /settings /help, and as you hit the tabs, the URL updates, and you show the different view.
And we'll just have some placeholder text here, like you're in the settings.
Yeah, exactly, right. And that's all there is to that one. The other one is getting a Google Map actually rendering. So we have an API key in here somewhere that we can use. Yep, there it is. We have a component that we are familiar with already, so we should probably use that one to actually render the map. But yeah, there is a bit of coordination. I think I say in here somewhere. If you go up a little bit. Oh yeah, there it is. So the pair doing the story should coordinate with the other team that are putting the routing in place just so to make your merge easier. So I don't know what that means exactly, but at some point we have these two pieces, they need to coexist. So at the very least, like when you do the merge, you might just want to like jump on a call together and kind of do the merge together. So you make sure you kind of keep all the relevant bits. Yeah, so does either pair have a preference which one they do? Has anybody worked with Google Maps before?
So,
I have not.
Okay.
I actually, this is funny, as I was looking at the story or what we're building, I was really excited because like 3 weeks ago, I made it to the final round of interviews at Nike and had to build a Google Map API based.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
In like 4 days. So I like did not do everything that I wanted, and there's been stuff that like still sticks in my brain. Like what else could I have done? And like looking through the backlog, I'm like, I'm gonna learn to actually do the thing.
Nice, that's great.
Yeah, and it's cool because they used, I think it was like the Uber coding challenge that apparently circulates a lot amongst like some of the bigger tech companies when they hire. That's like a common coding challenge to get. So if any of us ever do run into that coding challenge, this will be super helpful.
Awesome.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, Google Maps is a lot of fun. I've been working with it for, ever since it came out, basically, and
Wow.
it's just so powerful, and there's all this stuff you can do. Like they have great APIs, great documentation. EJ has brought up that it's not the most accessible thing in the world. It's very visual, and it's like it's not very keyboard accessible. You can't get to all the elements and stuff. So we actually have some ideas of how to make the map a little more accessible, like keyboard accessible. But we're also going to do, this was EJ's suggestion, is to have a table view of the same information, so that if somebody is on a screen reader, they can switch over to that table view, and it'll be sorted by distance and stuff. They can actually still get what's sort of near them, kind of read out to them too. So anyway, yeah. Does either pair have a preference which of the stories they do?
I'd be excited to kind of get started with Google Maps if that's cool with you, Caitlin.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Everyone's going to get a chance to work with Google Maps. So
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
yeah. Like we'll go into a lot more detail, but yeah, if you just kind of want to start to get your head around it, that makes a ton of sense. I don't know if you can't assign more than one person in Jira, I don't think. Right?
Oh, okay.
So
I'll send it to you, Shane.
yeah, cool. And I think you all are in the Jira, like our feed channel and Slack. You probably saw me updating everything the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Pretty noisy in the process of creating a project. It should settle down to where it's basically just but it's really set up for anything that happens. It kind of gets sent into that feed channel. You could set up your own Jira like kind of app thing directly, and you can then give it preferences for like, I only want to be notified when somebody mentions me or whatever, and then you could bail on the feed channel if it's too noisy. I just have it turned on to full fire hose mode. Aha, yes, selected for development. So we can change it from backlog to selected for development, and then we can see how the actual board changes.
Ooh.
So now we have two things there, and yeah, it's also set up with what are called swim lanes. And so the swim lanes are based on the epic. So if we had another epic, you can actually, why don't you move something from a different epic into selected, and we'll just move it back to the backlog in a minute. and then go back to the board, and you'll see that they're in different, they have like kind of different lanes, right? So it's really easy to see like what stuff from what epic is in progress. We'll take that one back out of selected, but there'll be points where we're crossing epic boundaries, and we'll have multiple swim lanes going too.
Okay. I hadn't refreshed mine, but now I see it. Okay.
Okay. Cool. So let's see. What else do you need to know? Do you have any? The stories are pretty detailed, but it doesn't mean that they're 100% correct or not confusing or whatever. Like I wrote these based on my understanding of the project and stuff. So myself, EJ, Ali, we're all your product owners for the project, similar to the shopping list project. So, if you're getting in there and you're pairing for the first time and you're like, this doesn't make a lot of sense to me, just ping one of us and we'll clarify things for you. I guess that's it. We'll get started, or
Cool.
any other questions or anything? Or I think if there's anything else I meant to cover.
So is our only like set meeting every week, Sunday at 10 or 10 Pacific time? Okay. And then other than that, we like schedule ourselves. Yeah.
So just coordinate. I'll actually so another thing that's happened since you were on there, we now have a little workflow in Slack. So I'll now that we have assigned we've assigned people to the different stories, I will set up the pairing threads in the channel, and you can use that to sort of coordinate, and it's a good way to just give visibility to the work too. So as you're working things through and you're like it's, I mean, the Google API keys it's pretty confusing world to me. So say you get in there and you're using the key and it comes up in the app in development mode or something, right? You could, in your thread, you could say, we use the API key that was listed, but here it is or whatever, but it's in development mode, tag somebody into the thread and like, can you look into this for us? It's like anything that comes up, you can use the thread to kind of encapsulate your work on that issue. I'm realizing kind of that the pairing, well, I guess that's fine. It's a thread for the two people, but the issues you may take on a second issue before you switch pairs, and then it might get a little confusing. We'll have to see how it works. It's really set up for the other project, but we'll try it.
Are we going to have office hours like we did with the other project? Like
yes,
a weekly
we will.
meeting with mentors to kind of check in? Okay, cool. That was always super helpful. And that was a good time to check in with the group too.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not sure who it is this week, but we'll figure that out and try to get something scheduled for like Tuesday or Wednesday or something.
Ooh,
also a new
that
addition
was
since
fancy.
you did. Yeah, since the two of you did this, is that the mentors just say like, here's an hour, like, find a time when everyone is free, but here's an hour where we're just available if you have questions. It's optional. You don't have to come, but it's been a big hit with the recent cohorts.
I'm looking forward to that. We didn't even have mentors in my cohort.
No, it was great. It was a lot of times for like all four of us to work together with a mentor and just like kind of change things about our app that were harder to do with just two people. So I feel like it was a really good experience. I don't know how it feels, but for me.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And this app, so it's a lot more responsibility on you. It's like more flexible and dynamic. The app itself, to me, is a little bit harder in the sense that like there's no database. That's one thing that's easy. So it's just an API, but it's a lot of asynchronous state. So you have different things, like you have API, like the location API that we're going to be using. You don't know when it's going to like throw a new location at you. And when it first fires up, what often happens is it gives you a rough location and then it starts to dial it in. So you might get a bunch of calls all like really like pretty close together at the beginning, and how that plays into like the user experience. Like, do you want the map like kind of shifting around under the user while that happens?
Can we control that? I mean, can you? Yeah, like I guess I gotta go look up Google APIs.
Yeah, we'll get to it. I mean, it's all, and if you look in the story for where we integrate that, there's a link off to, a good starting point and stuff. But yeah, there's that. We have a story that's about sort of settings. Like you can actually add a little bit of a delay to the API calls. Like if you're on foot, you don't need it to fire every single time it gets a new location. Maybe it's every 30 seconds, right? So because you're just not moving that fast if you're me anyway. So anyway, and if you have that going on, like you need to be, anyway, like those settings could change in the middle of an API call. You just need to be managing state in a way that's kind of keeps everything in a reasonable state in the app as things change. So that's one of the things I found challenging when I built it myself.
Do we have like, I guess we'll be syncing regularly with each other, but like, I guess even though it's a small thing, I was thinking like, do we need to decide on like a color scheme? Like if the first team that's building it just like picks whatever color, or do we want to like, I don't know. How do we decide on those big group decisions, I guess?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean as far as like what the app looks like?
Yeah, just like the one that we saw was purple, and like, do we want to like, I don't know, just let whoever's working on it just pick at the time, or?
I mean, we can, I think, yeah, I thought about that. Like we're all in Slack, like we can just ask. And I think also too, like, I don't know, but I guess the city is in Portland, like even something like that. Do we want to pick another city? Like, you know, just for fun, like to be like, oh, we want to do Tokyo or New York or, you know, Chicago or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for reference, like, or what me and Rachel just experienced with 13 was that like a lot of the work we did up front was like mainly like development and actually like the hard coding that was like setting up the functionality of the app. And then like that last week or so was really when we like pinned down, got wireframes and like focused on much of the design. So I think, I mean, in some cases it maybe can be easier to just like have like an outline generally of like what the app looks like, and then make a lot of those design decisions later. And unless anybody feels strongly about like wanting to create up front. I'm always down to like design. I love design. So like
Shane is an incredible designer and knows his way around Adobe. So he's an asset.
Oh, that's what's up.
To have on our team. So very grateful for Shane's. We kind of, I know what we did, and I don't know, Andrew, if this is set up, but you know, like you said, the first 6 to 7 weeks were all functionality, and then the last like week and a half too was the UI and the design, and we kind of let Shane be our lead in a sense, and then we discussed because we came up with different buttons and colors, but it was very group decision, and I think it worked great.
Cool. So instead of having like, you didn't have like a ticket or a task for that, you just kind of async.
We did.
Okay.
Like I think the last 4 issues were just design.
Oh.
But we decided like what library to use, but Shane really enjoys, I don't know, like doing wireframes. So he kind of built this beautiful wireframe for us, and we kind of went with that. And then smaller decisions like around just like small colors that didn't look as good as we initially did, we like met as a group to make sure we were all on board. But we waited till much later in the app.
Okay, that sounds good.
And something that's new for all of you, I'm going to blow your mind here with a new story that we have on their boards. So this is from TCL 16s, but throw it in the chat here. So instead of having we used to have the like 4 or 5 like make it pretty tasks, right? But now we have the last thing on the board is a design process for the team to go through. So you could use that same process or something else if you wanted to. There's actually, so the last story in this epic is a little bit designy in the sense that you have to, like, you need an icon, you need an app icon. So something that's going to be on the user's home screen. So there's at least that one decision to make as a group, maybe. You know, you could, with the actual app itself, you could just have, you know, white with black borders or something. I mean, you don't really need to do anything too fancy at this point if you don't want to. But that app icon is, and maybe the name of the app too, or maybe the things you need to decide on. But yeah, this is the process we're using for the shopping list going forward.
Cool.
Oh, that's great. I like that.
That's so cool. I like that chakra is included.
Yeah. Those are good questions to ask. And I like mood boards too. So
Yeah, and I think some teams like your team and whatever team Kat was on a couple like cohort before, like did something similar to this, like just kind of organically. So we just kind of tried to lay out a simple process for people to like, here are the things you can go through to kind of get to an agreement on like at least the design direction. So
Yeah, thank you. I really like this.
cool. We could take that task and put it into our project if we want to go full on with the design. I feel like there's not a ton of design to this app, not as much as there is in the shopping list, because it's most of the screen is the Google map. But there's there's a table and there's a settings and there's help and like there's some different screens too. Of course, we're way over time. It's like old times, right, Caitlin, Devon? We got better at being more efficient and ending on time, I think, with the more recent cohorts. Do y'all feel like you know what to do?
Yeah.
Ish? Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
it's-
I'll probably hit you up on Slack right now, Caitlin, just to figure out the schedule for the week and
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm here. Yep.
the
Cool.
same setup, like we just like make a branch with our initials and the task and all of that.
Oh yeah. Sorry,
No, yeah, I
should've
just want
gone over
to.
that too.
No. I'm just a little neurotic and want to make sure that it's.
No, it's all
this-
good. Yeah, in fact, we have the project brief as well. So that has all the pairings, it has all the links to everything.
Oh,
Yeah. So, and that's the same idea. Yeah, we'll you'll set up your branches the same way that we did in the other project. And it's the same process for kind of like, make sure the other pair reviews your work and then get the mentors to review the work and then you merge. Once it's merged, you demo. And we'll meet back again in a week. Yeah.
sounds great.
Awesome.
Yeah. Hit us up in the
Alright,
channel if any questions. I'm excited though.
Cool.
Excited to. And again, Andrew, thank you for all your work and your labor and your volunteering to just like make us better developers.
Absolutely.
You're welcome. Yeah. It's my favorite thing to do.
Oh.
Aw.
Collab lab. So
Great.
Yeah, there was Stacy Hart.
Yeah, Stacey Hart we should do it. Let's do a screenshot with the hard hands. She'll love that. I have to figure out how to do this at the same time. Here, I'll try to do. Okay,
Yeah,
you put all yours up. I'm
Okay.
gonna try to be really fast about it.
Did you get it? Did
No,
you
the
get it?
computer's too fast. I can do
You
it.
gotta
Here, I'll do
get. You
it.
got. I was gonna say you gotta get us though. Then I mean you're the one taking the picture, so it is what it is.
Yeah, I got all of you.
Oh,
Actually,
okay.
Maybe one of you can take a screenshot and I'll Photoshop it in.
Okay, I'll do it.
Sure, for sure.
I'm terrible at these hard hands.
I'm doing a 5-second delay.
Oh,
Great.
good.
Got it.
I might because I wanted the good heart. So if it's blurry, I'm sorry. I like waited to the last minute.
I'll send it to the channel.
Awesome. That's great. Cool. Thank you all.
Thank
See
you.
you in Slack. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
One.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.